I'll demonstrate a couple of those now. So a use case we do a lot of is drawing automation. This can be very simple or very complex. So I've prepared, like I said, a very simple example here. If I click this create drawing button, it's going to create a drawing of the active part. So let's demonstrate that. You can see how quick that was. That's a simple part. We just created three very simple views and insert a few simple dimensions. That's not hard coded. That would work for any simple part, but obviously the more complex your geometry is, the more complex the dimensioning is going to be. So that scales quite a bit. So yeah, there's a simple drawing. Like I said, we do this a lot for repetitive parts where, especially sheet metal, if you're making a lot of similar parts and need to pump out a lot of drawings, PDFs, DXFs, it's a good use case for automation because that's taking up a lot of your designer's time, and there's usually not too much thinking involved. And there's always a human review step, right? So you don't have to fully trust it. The designer has this command, he clicks it, reviews it, makes any necessary edits, and he's still responsible for the accuracy at the end of the day. So that's a simple use case. Another more advanced one I've got here. So if I click this command here, we get what we call a property manager page here. So this is a custom feature, but it's built to look like native SolidWorks. And we build these when we need a lot of model selections. So in this case, I'm applying a feature to an assembly that you can't do normally. So I'm going to split this, and this is made up of three parts. I've got two cylinders here of a large diameter. This part's duplicated. And then the middle one is just another cylinder with a smaller diameter. So I'd like to pattern cut that, which you can't do, well, in this manner anyways, by default. So I want some selection. So I want the start plane. So note that this plane is at one end. I want an end plane, so this plane's at another end. And then if we wanted to respect some middle planes as well, I could add those. In this case, that won't be necessary. So let's say I want to split this every 6 inches. So I'm going to hit go there, and that's going to basically add a plane every 6 inches automatically, and then cut at each plane, and then propagate that to each of the parts. So just to prove that, if I go to this part and open it, we can see those planes propagated, and we have the solid bodies. So we just took a assembly level cut and propagated that to the parts. This is just an example to show what we can do. We can manipulate geometry via these property manager pages. But a real use case for something like this is calculating mass properties across a section. So if you had a complex shape like this and you need to do some analysis, you could then section that and then calculate mass properties for each body and then plot them. Um,
And, and just for like argument's sake, to do this in a very traditional manner would take a lot longer because you have to basically set every single plane where you want it, initiate a cut at the plane, and make sure that all of your bodies stay where they needed to be. So doing this manually would be a lot more time consuming. Just wanted to bring that up.
that's right. Yeah. And the reason I do it with this interface, like I said, is for the selections. So that we don't always use property manager pages. I could implement something like this with just I could throw a window up there and you pick a bunch or pre-select a bunch of things. But when we need a lot of native SolidWorks selections, we'll implement it with one of these. We can also use these to build what are called macro features. So if there's a feature in another CAD system, like for example, cut extrude, what SolidWorks does have, but let's pretend it didn't, we could build that for you. So if there's a combination of CAD operations, especially complex surfacing, where you're having to input, I don't know, 10, 12 features, and you would like to just do that with one input box, we can do that. Those do get complex, but they make sense in some cases. So custom commands, property manager pages like so.